this map. The 1-1-1, very, very popular here, and
Yeah.
you kind of
yeah.
need to be able to get up to some immortals at some point. And we've been seeing Protoss players really intelligently positioning their pylons so that they can warp in zealots behind that kind of a push and attack from the front at the same time. And you know, I'm not saying Show's going to 1-1-1, but you have to set yourself up with an opening that's not going to die to something like that, especially when you know your tournament is hinging on the game.
I do think, though, that I feel like on this map, players are relying a little too much on the Colossus play. You can get 2 bases up pretty comfortably as a Protoss player. And, of course, when you have a ticket to start getting Colossus, a lot of players just snatch that right on up. But I feel like the third is just so difficult to hold with all the drop angles that end up propping up that I honestly think Colossi are more of a curse than a useful unit on 2 bases.
It's
on
tough
this
to
map.
get them around because they gotta kind of wiggle and stuff. I like Blink Stalker play, but I mean the fact is you've got to get up to some sort of AOE type something to deal with big bio play underneath Medivacs. Like for example in the first game on Metalopolis, if there was some Storm, if there was some Colossi, maybe Todd's able to hold against that next big push. So I would hate to see him get into a position where he needs a Colossus and he doesn't have them. But I do agree. Third bases are a real nuisance here on Shack.
Yeah, I do. Terran has a fairly straightforward time taking a third, though. They get the mobility, Marine Marauder, Medevac, Army, start pushing, dropping all over the place. Protoss is defensive. Terran can calmly, safely expand. I do, though, think the number one thing that ToD does need is the blink. I talked a little bit about that on Tal'Darim Altar. It's useful on Tal'Darim Altar. It seems like a necessity on Shakura's Plateau. There's so many ridges, so many obnoxious spots where the Medevacs can just creep in. I mean, you can literally ring the map with a Medevac, and it can remain untouched.
Yeah. Blink's just such a great ability in general. But I think we are finally ready to get this game going. ToD says go, go. Sjow says go, go. So the countdown
good luck, have fun.
begun. Shakura's Plateau, the map. Sjow versus ToD, the players. 1-1 the score. And day 9.
Doing my very painful thug snap. I don't know if that's picking up in the mic well enough. Maybe I can snap it right by that.
I would laugh so hard if you like smacked yourself in the face.
Or if I smacked the mic, sure, I can do that. Like,
oh, please don't.
Yeah, say surprise to everyone on stream. And it looks like, I will say, I do think ToD probably has a little bit of the advantage in the macro camp. But Sjow has been showing some very fancy openings.
He has.
And given these close spots, I think he will be quite happy. The Swede in the bottom left, who has been slowly waning in his tournament performances lately, really would love a ticket to top 16. It is Sjow.
Sure enough. His opponent down here in the bottom right, the French Protoss player, former Warcraft 3 pro, Millennium's ToD. Oh, thanks.
See, I'm doing an impersonation of everyone at home clapping silently in their rooms.
Now, I love Reaper openings in these positions, day 9. I think it's tough to know exactly where your opponent is. Obviously, you know, it's one of 2 places. But I think a Reaper opening on Shakura's Plateau is a good opening in general because you get that scout in there.
And, you know, one of the things that I think is not mentioned enough about Reaper openings is how you get fast stim as well. Just the way the gas times out, you can plop down the command center, follow it right on up with that fast stim upgrade, and it's very handy for holding off a lot of those early pushes with the Marauders. ToD will be going to check in the proper position, and it looks like no sort of straight early expand from Sjow as there is that first refinery down.
So we're going to see some sort of tech gas usage from Sjow. Same thing on ToD's side of the map. I do expect 1-gate Expo from ToD. I think it would be really, really odd if he did anything else. Second pylon going down there in the corner of his base. I like this because it gives him a spotter against something like a Reaper.
Yeah, and this one barracks is planted a little bit suspiciously close to the front. I feel like Sjow does have some sort of wall-off coming. And I almost feel like that would indicate some sort of ultra-tech play. Either a 1-1-1, maybe even something as absurd as 2-port Banshee, but we've seen Sjow capable of doing all this sorts of fancy stuff. And look at this. This is the sort of stuff that makes it fun to watch Sjow. He is preparing for anything.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of hidden antics that can happen at the back. This is a great place to hide pylons. You plant the pylon here, begin warping in. That sort of vision from the supply depot can help deflect a lot of those attacks.
I can dig it. I can totally dig it.
Boom.
I'm not on the same level as the Thought Hammer. You had to explain it to me.
I see a supply depot, and I'm like, oh, a cunning tactical maneuver.
I know exactly what's coming.
Yeah, indeed.
He's getting more supply. Factory down here for Sjow, so 111 still a possibility. There is a reactor going down on that barracks. Could be also a similar opening as to what we saw on the last map. ToD still hasn't expanded. What are you up to, ToD? Dropping that proxy pylon up at the top of the map. This is something he does a lot. He's always putting pylons down around the map.
And here's an interesting maneuver that we've been seeing a lot of players do, having 2 units in the assimilator rather than 3, helping to get sort of a funky off timing.
Yeah, a lot of top Protest players have done that at this tournament. We saw Naniwa do it. We saw someone else noteworthy do it, and ToD doing it here too. It's happening enough to where I feel like it's maybe not a mistake and somewhat intentional.
Looks like Sjow does have some sort of funky 1-1-1 planned. Don't know if it will be the infamous 1-1-1 variant, the Banshee Tank Marine play. A lot of people call that Banshee Tank Marine push 1-1-1, but of course it is only one of many variants.
Indeed. No add-on on the factory yet. He's going to get a couple more Hellions out first. Where's that first Hellion? Just kind of moving across the center of the map. Wants to do as much scouting as he can. There's the expand from ToD, and it is a 3-gate expo, not a 1-gate expo.
Wow. Looks like ToD's playing fairly safely on this map. I agree with your earlier suggestion that the 1-gate expand, probably the most reasonable thing. He should do it almost no matter what. Even with Sjow doing this very fast drop play, I very much so prefer to just get that expansion up. I mean, there's just not that much that your opponent can do unless you have a very sick read and you know exactly what's up. But you can always get that sort of information, that early poke from ToD where he got to see up the ramp. Didn't see that early tech lab. That is always a good signifier that it is time to add that little expo down.
Medevac is moving out, and the question next on our mind is how quick is ToD's reaction speed, as this Medevac does represent a significant threat to his economy. 3 Hellions will one-shot probes, and we do not need ToD to line them up, as we like to say.
That is true. These are not blue flame Hellions. These are good old red flame Hellions. These are the standard link armor Hellions. Uh-oh, looks like already some nice damage being dealt. And oh, those are so lined up. Oh, God, that is tempting even for me. I literally wanted to gain control of Sjow's units and just right-click it right on top of all those probes. It reminds me of the first winter Dreamhack with StarCraft 2. Phoenix against Tyler. Phoenix moves in the main with a Banshee. Tyler runs all his probes, and a pair of Blue Flame Hellions killed 26 in one shot.
Ouch. Capital ouch. A couple more barracks going down here for Sjow. He has added that tech lab, and there is a Banshee on the way. ToD has done a good job of deflecting. He only lost, well, 5 workers. I guess a couple more than I had realized. 28 probes to 26 SCVs. Command center on the way for Sjow, so his economy not lagging that far behind. And, you know, how much damage can this Banshee possibly do, and how smooth are Sjow's transitions going to be?
Well, you know, this is the one kind of awkward thing about watching Sjow play. He has these super creative strategies that, whether they are, you know, strong or not, are incredibly hard to predict and can throw off opponents. We see Sjow preparing, for instance, right now for the double-pronged attack. The Banshee at the back, and then the Hellions at the natural. There come the Hellions. Banshee now moving into the back of the main. Will ToD see him? Looks like ToD sees the main, excuse me, sees the expansion. Starts to pull back the probes.
With units in decent positions, that Banshee deciding that he did not want to fly into the main and engage right away. So crisis averted for the most part here. ToD staying on top of that probe protection. 37 probes out now to 28 or so SCVs. And Immortal on the way also, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Look at all these Marines, Day 9.
A lot of Marines. Timing push could very well happen, and it looks like ToD very easily saw that expansion coming up from Sjow. Immortal has some nice Zealot sentry planted at the back, but ToD might be spread a little bit too thin. We see all the Marines starting to make their way towards that natural expansion, and this is either going to work out really well or really bad for ToD.
Just missed a little bit of a Banshee poke there in the back of ToD's natural. I think he killed a single probe there, but ToD all over it. Ooh, more Hellion action! Yes,
God,
Stalker's
ToD
in a great position.
with the impeccable timing, brings it down to 23
might
health.
get that Banshee note. He does
God,
not.
he barely didn't get anything.
He barely got nothing. Banshee still in a annoying spot, so I'm sure we'll see a little bit more of that from Sjow. 3 kills on that Banshee. These Hellions have about 5 kills between them, so decent harassment from Sjow, but is it enough? Has it been good enough? Robotics Bay down now for ToD. He's going to start working up towards those Colossi.
Now Sjow pulling back into his main base, doing a little bit of repairing, but a ton of probes seem to be following suit, and he scans himself, but there's no observer there.
Indeed not. It was not a missed scan. So often Terran players scan on top of their army because they do not want observers just seeing everything. Another drop coming into the back of ToD's mains. This is like triple prong harass. Banshee in the back, the natural drop in this, like at the side of the main, and then those Hellions are over there. Well, they're not really doing anything, I guess. So.
We did pull back the weakened medevac. Always keep in mind those medevacs can heal. So if you can get those starting medevacs back home, that is always a safe place for them to lie.
Yeah, it could heal, but it didn't heal. We see that 123 hit point medevac just kind of cruising through the middle of the map there.
Ooh, did manage to spot ToD's forward pylon, and now it looks like Sjow might be trying to make a small prod at the front. Maybe a little Hellion scan move where he scans up there.
Go up there, Sjow. Sjow has been consistent with his macro, man. Getting supply blocked again at 102 supply. He seems to really struggle getting all these depots down.
Does have the +1 upgrade, needs to begin catching up with that armor. This is where Sjow continues a sort of freeform style of play. Almost every other Terran player would go straight for the orthodox, rigid structure, the 5 barracks, 2 reactor, 3 tech labs, sometimes, 1 reactor, 4 tech lab.
Big push in the center of the map coming here from Sjow. Thermal Lance about halfway done. There is a Colossus out. Show's going to have to be very, very careful. He does scan right on top of that, and I don't think he's going to commit to a push into a ramp with the Colossus waiting for him.
And with all this going on, ToD is still prepared for these drops at the back. He is going for the double forge, and I guess this makes sense. If you're saying to yourself, I'm not going to be leaving my 2 base for a long time, you may as well get ready to move out of the 2 base.
Look at all these idle probes in ToD's main base. I'm just finally seeing it. I'm not sure how long those guys were sitting still. ToD seems to be teching really hard off just 1 base. Double forge, robotics bay, thermal lance. We don't see any sort of Twilight Council or anything like that down, but this is all happening on just 2 bases.
And a 3rd command center down right now for Sjow is starting to produce those Vikings up. Doesn't look like he has that extra backup starport we see a lot of players do. Some players hate those Colossi so much that they just build 2 starports with Vikings, making sure they can get out up to 12 to 16 Vikings one-shotting the Colossus.
That is exactly right. Double drop loading up now for Sjow, so he's going to try to make his way around the back of the map, see if he can pick off a building 3rd base, or if nothing else, drop 1 more time in the back of the natural. 2 Colossi out now for ToD. Thermal Lance is done. Twilight Council is down. 3rd base is starting.
Now, ToD in this particular circumstance, I think, would be correct to sort of halt up on the Colossus production, sort of divert back to gateway production. This is a very common tactic. ToD, it just looks like he's taking a 3rd, not going to rely on any clever timing, just going to basically go for it when he has a decent number of units. And I think that's kind of what makes this difficult map to play on in this matchup. You kind of have to know when your expansion is safe without any sort of special signal.
A little bit of a push at the middle of the map just to get ToD's attention as this drop comes around the back. ToD's army is just going to stay parked in the natural, so I think he could deal with this drop pretty handily if he catches it coming.
At the same time, Sjow can just leave it here. You know, MC for a while was just getting Phoenixes in this matchup, and a lot of times it's just to finally give the finger to these medevacs, you know? Yeah, why don't you hide there? Why don't you try to drop somewhere, huh, guy? Easily take them out with the Phoenixes. Sjow has 3 full medevacs loaded up. That's actually quite surprising to me.
Yeah, it's a ton of supply tied up in those medevacs.
Yeah, oh yeah.
3rd command center has completed. 3rd Nexus has completed also. So we got 3 base against 3 base now. Nice macro game unfolding. There's the big stem up at the top of the map, and ToD's army is way out of position. Oh, this Nexus could die.
And ToD, oh no, ToD's sending everything. He's sending everything, including the kitchen sink and all his Colossus. There's the stem, and it looks like he's going to load up, lose but a single Marine. This expansion does have the Zealot, the Colossus there to defend it.
Yeah,
2 upgrades still incoming.
Sjow perhaps forgetting about these 2 medevacs parked over here in the back. Would have been a great time to go drop them in the main, but they just kind of chill out. So not too much loss there for ToD. He's lost a grand total of 11 workers this game, sitting on 64 probes to the 56 SCVs of his opponent. And these guys are just showing a lot of respect to the other. Not a whole lot of activity happening here, just maxing out, essentially. Templar starting to round out the army of ToD. And where are the ghosts for Sjow? It doesn't look like he wants to add any ghosts.
Look at this. It looks like Sjow is moving down the south side. He has so many medevacs hanging out around the map. He is just doing dropping left and right and back and front. Has relatively
ToD
small
is
army.
all over it. I don't know how he knew that drop was there. And at the same time, ToD is repositioning himself to come deal with this drop at the top of the map. It's almost as if the drop in one spot.
Oh, and he manages to get the very nice feedback. Oh, the very not so nice pathfinding on these shuffling colossi.
I really think Sjow's forgotten about these two medevacs over here. Finally, this one extra medevac's going to come join up with his buddies. Fly right into a cannon.
Sjow. What about these two medevacs at the back side?
He doesn't even know that they're there, Day9. Now he sees them again.
Now
He's like, no wonder my army feels small. This is 16 supply, or 20 supply with the medevacs.
Now it looks like he's maybe getting in position to drop, or is he just going to move up here and park? Still outside of vision range.
Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind, Day9.
Looks like it's 2-2 upgrades for Protoss versus 1-1 upgrades for Terran.
Indeed, maxed out army against maxed out army. There are no ghosts and lots of Templar.
Oh, no. Are you serious? No ghosts at all? I mean, part of me just sort of assumed they were there. You know, it was like about that time of day.
Yep, here
and
comes
now the double drop from Sjow. ToD is getting in that Templar. Oh, one of those is just going to be evaporated. Oh no, feedback it. What the? Oh,
whoa, what the hell happened here? We were all so tied up with the drop that Sjow manages to walk his army all the way into the main base. He's going to lose the entire army, though, and I don't know that he's getting the best exchange here.
No, the Templar now moving up into the top. I mean, Sjow has just sacrificed his entire army. Storms clean everything up, and a single feedback will rip that medevac out of the sky. Sjow, again, some cool tactical play, but you just need the ghosts in that army mix.
What happened with that attack into the natural? He's just like stems, runs into the natural, and then loses his whole army. Not even managing to kill the Nexus, just taking down a lot of shields. It looks like ToD might actually be able to win this game, Day9.
Wow. I mean, Sjow really had a nice advantage there. It wasn't a clear lead, but he was in the position that you just want to be in this matchup. And now what do you do if you're in Sjow's position? You can't just make more Marines and Marauders. The Ghost is just an essential unit at this phase. With that many Templar out, you need the snipes, you need the EMPs.
Yeah, Ghost Academy has finally gone down. 2 ghosts in production. The Mobius reactor upgrade underway as well, but we've got a maxed out Protoss here, bearing down on only the 150 supply Terran army, and so much of that is Vikings. Day9, look at this. We've got 8 Vikings at 16 supply, and I don't like it.
Yeah, that does give me concern. A double medevac drop up at the north by Sjow does mean that ToD will almost certainly lose this expansion.
Yeah, I don't think he cares at this point. Just running the probes. He's going to attack.
Ooh, this push, though, could end the game. We see ToD sweeping in. Zealots spreading out everywhere. The natural expansion is in shambles. Where are those ghosts, Mr. Bitter? Oh, it is so painful to see.
I don't know.
Now the Marine Marauder army, suffering some huge storm hits.
Every SCV going to go down there at the third base. Sjow does clean up that expansion in the top right, and he will continue to work down to the top right natural expand, but at the same time, Sjow's just cleaning up everything. Nice
the Vikings were landed.
Vikings.
He ends up cleaning all of them up. A small paltry force of Marines and Marauders under some serious duress at the front doors. ToD storming all the SCVs, hardly even hitting some of his own Zealots. Now it looks like Sjow down to but 100 food, trying his best to macro, slowly whittling down this gigantic force of ToD, but he is running out of barracks, running out of answers to this never-ending stream of Zealot Archon Colossus.
Indeed, you are right. Only 67 supply remains for Sjow. I think as long as this drop is alive, he's going to keep trying to make something happen, but I think it's fruitless. Day9. He's losing all of his production. He's got no real standing army to speak of. Only 12 Marauders and 9 Marines, lifting up that command center as if he's going to try to float it somewhere.
Well, this is actually kind of an interesting position, Mr. Bitter. I mean, it doesn't actually look like Sjow has that much to contest this army of Marine Marauder, and it looks like the last mining expansion is going to fall. He will lift up and split out. I wonder how many observers are on the map. Well, there are 2, so that means the Cloak Banshee play is unlikely to be any kind of game ender.
Indeed.
Now Sjow is just going to try to pick off these Marine Marauders. We see a couple of Zealots swing in. Sjow would definitely benefit from picking off a few of them, but he gets distracted and loses a healthy chunk.
Yeah, and at this point in the game, you have to start asking yourself, all right, Sjow, what are you really trying to do here? He's basically flown all of his buildings, and he's going to try and rebuild up at the top of the map. He must think the game's a lot closer than it actually is, because this is a really huge Protoss army, and this is not the hugest Terran army I've ever seen.
But I do think Sjow probably thought that this was going to be one of the lighter matches in his group. I mean, especially at this stage in the tournament, there's no such thing as a light match. But still, when White Raw and Happy are the two players he's up against, he was probably really counting on a win versus ToD to solidify some of his chances in this matchup.
Man, I think ToD is just one of the most underrated players on the scene right now. He showed so many good games here, and he is going to knock out Sjow 2-1 in the first game of this group. We see a couple of Stalkers continuing to poke around at the top of the map.
And it looks like ToD is going to be close to losing this Nexus. The drop continues in the main, but whoa, does ToD ever know where he needs to strike? The heart of Show's new base, lifting up, going to join this other flock of barracks. He can make the good old flying V.
That is a possibility. Still dropping around and just picking off Nexi is Sjow, but he's not going to kill the natural again. There's a couple of Zealots and a Colossus and a High Templar there, and I feel like surely, soon Show's going to tap out.
This is a very frustrating feeling to have. And, you know, I'm not feeling good for Show's following match. I mean, if you're spending all this mental energy trying to win this ridiculous uphill battle, I mean, this is total Prometheus style.
Yeah. 25 supply remaining for Sjow. 26 now, as he has been able to produce a couple of SCVs down here at the bottom of the map. But, yeah, you know.
You know, I love these little touches ToD does. I mean, you can't laud that play enough. After cleaning out the entire main and suddenly Sjow hops up and goes on the run, what does he do? Well, he just has a couple of Stalkers out there picking off those idle depots. I like that move there by Sjow, though.
ToD has managed to at least realize that the final mining expansion for Sjow is down here in the bottom of the map. Command Center lifts once again. I don't think this time it's going to be able to get away.
I think the hairdryer will meet its fate here. Where is it here? There's the hairdryer immediately landing at the far south position of the screen.
Indeed. Still floating is Sjow. Is he really going to make ToD eliminate him?
Well, Show's going for the base race style. He is building another command center at his own natural, but man, ToD is all over the map. He just knows exactly where Sjow could end up expanding, and I especially love that ToD is not expanding anymore. He's sitting calmly, waiting to find where he can end up putting pressure on his opponent, and he's just going to go there.
Sjow has thrown down one more command center at the 6 o'clock base that he just lost. ToD still just kind of, moving around the map, cleaning it all up. 26 supply remaining for Sjow. ToD up to about 160. Does finally decide to take a new third.
Part of me wonders if there's any micro tactic you can do to pull this off, but oh my God, you are getting surrounded from all sides. Oh God. Max army on the left and right. Kite, micro. And there's the good game. ToD.
Almost had it, Sjow.
With a solid win in that very first match, that means that ToD is now 1-0 in his group.